Hi, I'm Nicole Rycroft. I'm the founder and executive director of Canopy, a solutions-driven NGO that's focused on protecting the world's forests, species, climate, and helping advance frontline community rights. And we do that by harnessing the purchasing power of the marketplace to transform unsustainable linear supply chains and help scale next-gen solutions and ultimately protect forest ecosystems on the ground.
Hi, I'm Valerie Langer. I work with Canopy's Next Generation Solutions campaign and also on the initiative to mobilize investment and financing towards the next generation technologies and more towards the infrastructure and mills themselves that will use those technologies so that we can get the products onto the market in the volumes at the scale that will make them competitive with conventional man-made cellulosic fiber textiles.
So next-gen solutions to us are the systems, the design, and the feedstocks that shift us away from linear extractive supply chains to fundamentally lower carbon, more sustainable, and ultimately more circular, both feedstocks as well as production systems. They're a huge priority for us. In our work, we're working to protect the world's forest ecosystems. Forests are being logged. There are 3.2 billion trees that are logged every year to make paper-based packaging and wood-based textiles like rayon and viscose. So as such, it's a major driver of deforestation and forest degradation, and the pathway to actually keeping forests standing so that we can stabilize our climate and help support vibrant biodiversity is to actually replace at least 50% of the forest fiber that's currently used in those day-to-day commodities with circular lower carbon feedstocks like recycled textiles or agricultural residues or even microbial cellulose that's grown and developed off industrial food waste.
This space has actually been developing incredibly quickly in the last 4 or 5 years, where if you'd asked this question 5, 6 years ago, we might be scratching our heads a little going, I think there's somebody over here and maybe another person in a lab over there. But in the last 4 or 5 years, I think the space for circularity has really developed. And so brilliant minds have really stepped up to develop new technologies. And there are companies like Worn Again, Circ, Infinited Fiber Company, the Renewcell mill is currently being built in Sweden. It will be the first industrial scale textile to textile dissolving pulp mill in the world, any scale. There's also a couple of large conventional manufacturers that have started making next-gen textiles for man-made cellulosic fibers. Those are companies like Birla Lenzing. It's in the U.S., Evernew is also building a pilot mill right now. And it's just a really fast developing space. And we're incredibly excited to see those companies go from the lab scale to pilot scale. And now even with Renewcell to commercial scale. And we're looking forward in the next year or two to seeing a number of those new technology innovators that have really paved the way here to have their technologies drawn through to commercial scale.
one of the areas is the strengthening of market pull-through and the market appetite for these disruptive, game-changing next-generation solutions, which is so critical. Market demand is really a critical piece of being able to scale and bring these game-changing solutions to market, right? So we've had some big new brands join on within the Canopy Style Initiative or our Pack for Good initiatives, so focused either on the viscose supply chain or the paper packaging supply chain. So brands like Shein in the food and beverage area, Ben & Jerry's most notably recently, but many, many others that have come in really excited, not only about shifting out of high carbon, high biodiversity value forests, but the fact that circular economy next-gen solutions are their pathway away from high carbon, risky supply chains. So I think that's one area. I think the other piece for us has been moving that broader policy level interest into more tangible pilots, trialing, integration into product lines, and the fact that we now have over 500,000 tons of specified letters of interest to purchase. So 550,000 tons of dedicated tonnage for these low carbon circular next gen solutions from our brand partners. I'd say that there have been a lot of achievements in the sector as a whole. Obviously, the fact that RenewCell have doubled their production capacity even before they've opened is a significant milestone. The fact that we've had two large industrial viscose or MMCF producers step in and develop those long-term offtake agreements and letters of intent to purchase, that has helped RenewCell move forward with being able to unlock that additional capacity and actually unlock their financing in the first case. That's incredibly exciting and I think will be obviously the first of many. A number of innovators, one again, notably as well as Circ, securing their green light for commercial pilots, another exciting milestone. And I think on the Canopy side, we're particularly encouraged and continue to really focus on ensuring that we're building really strong market pull-through and interest, that kind of market appetite for these low carbon solutions, because that's a really key part to the financing and the success ultimately of the commercial scaling of these climate solutions. So the fact that we've had Primark, Shein, Mango, Kmart all sign on in 2022. Late last year, we had Walmart join as well. They're all strongly interested, excited, and formally committed in their policies to really helping prioritize the scaling and market pull-through of next-gen solutions. And more specifically, as the next stage of work, we have now over 500,000 tons of explicit letters of intent to purchase from brand partners and conventional producers. So I think that those are two exciting Canopy Hemisphere milestones. Well, we live for challenges, right? That's the spice of life. If it was simple, then hopefully we'd already be there. So the challenges, I think, are what makes it interesting and worthy of the endeavor. I would say one of the big gaps that we see is the scale of investment and the scale of investment that is willing to step in and write the size of checks that are needed to actually build the commercial scale infrastructure that's needed for viscose pulp production, for the development of the dissolving pulp, be it with microbial cellulosic feedstock or processing or a more conventional chemical process of textile to dissolving pulp. So that's one of the areas that I think is a challenge overall. And definitely it's an area that I'm not sure that we're having a lot of sleepless nights about it, but we're definitely dedicating a lot of brain space towards how do we crack that.
There isn't actually one technology that is necessary in order to get a t-shirt or a pair of jeans into being new dissolving pulp or recycled material for viscose and man-made cellulosic textiles. It actually takes many steps along the way. And if you have only the technology to convert the, let's say, used cotton t-shirt into a dissolving pulp for viscose, you'd be sitting there saying, "Where's my t-shirt? Where's the jeans?" The whole system actually has to develop in concert, and that's been a challenge, a hurdle. Is that there's been effort to figure out how do we turn this stuff into this new textile. So take the old material and turn it into new textile. But then once that has been reached, we realize, how do we get enough textile that's clean, that's where the polyester is separated from the cotton and the buttons and the zippers are cleaned off of it? How do we get enough of that aggregated so that the new technology innovators have the feedstock that they need? So there's been a lot of focus, for good reason, on figuring out the how-to at the end point when you actually have the textile. But now that we are there, that the technologies exist, and several of these technologies exist, we have to develop the rest of that ecosystem that can feed into it. So there's a little bit of a lag time, I would say, around having the aggregation of textiles, the system in place for the preparation, the technologies to collect, prepare, separate, and clean before the textile mills take the brand new, viscose pulp and turn it into the rest of the stages for weaving, dyeing, and making it into a new piece of clothing.
I agree with Valerie in terms of we need investment in the entire industrial ecosystem, right? Like the production infrastructure and the aggregation in the back end. I think one of the other pieces that we're grappling with is how do you create the right incentives so that conventional producers that are currently relying almost exclusively on wood fiber to produce MMCF, how do you create the right value proposition so that they start to actually retrofit their existing production infrastructure so that at least 50% of it is drawing on more circular feedstocks, and that any new infrastructure that's being built is built predicated on agricultural residues or textiles as the feedstock. So that's one of the challenges.
The current industry is separated into segments. Obviously there's the producers, and then there are the brands. Brands don't buy pulp, they buy garments. But they're the ones in the end that need to be specifying that they will buy the next generation textile and pull it through to the market. The producers will produce if they feel that they have a market amongst the brands. So the one thing that could really change the game here is that even though a lot of these materials are new, they're nascent. It's nascent in the way that 10 years ago, solar power and wind power was nascent. And it was available in lesser volumes. Sometimes it had a premium. And now, guess what? Solar and wind power is cheaper than coal and oil. And that's what's going to happen when you scale up next gen. It becomes cheaper with economy of scale and with refinements in the technology that happen when people are producing. So the brands need to be the leaders. They need to say, if it's not exactly the amounts that we want right now. Maybe it has a bit of a price premium now. We're going to see ourselves through to what's going to happen 10 years in the future, 5 years in the future, and we're going to buy it now. So the brands have to buy what's on the market now, and they have to commit. And I think some of them are really stepping forward there. We've seen, Zara and H&M make purchase agreements. Bestseller, Patagonia have been stepping into the space. A few others. We need the hundreds and hundreds of brands to do the same, so that it's not 100 tons here and 100 tons there. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of tons that are getting purchased to create that circular system that will make next gen viable, economically competitive.
I totally agree with that. I actually have a shopping list of 3, if I can. I know that you're asking for one. One is definitely, brands have been spectacular within Canopy Style. It's been a brand-led initiative, right? It's definitely our partnership with brands that has enabled us to shift, at this point, just over 50% of global viscose supply out of sourcing from ancient and endangered forests, and brands will lead the revolution towards next gen. And so we need brands to lean in more, to be bolder, to be setting, 2030 targets that they're going to be using at least 50% less raw materials in their products, supporting directly these first to market products, and really encouraging conventional producers to be building these new disruptive technologies into their conventional production and their expansion plans. So that's the ask of brands. With conventional producers, there's definitely, 5 years ago, conventional producers told us that it was impossible to produce commercial inventory MMCF using waste textiles as the feedstock. And yet here we have 4, 5 of the large MMCF producers on market with small volumes and small percentages of textile as part of their feedstock, but notable milestones nonetheless, and an additional 15 MMCF producers doing varying kind of levels of R&D. So this is definitely an area that conventional producers are considering, but we haven't really seen at this point any of the big conventional producers really make the move and say, we see that this is the direction that the fashion industry is heading in, and we are going to be the leading next gen solution provider in the space. And so I think that's an open call and an incredible opportunity for one of the existing conventional producers. And then the third piece is around investment. And we need investors that are looking to, whether they're just looking to tick the ESG box or they're genuinely interested in helping to support us collectively hit the global targets of 2030. They need to be investing in this space. Infrastructure and supply chains is where there's an incredible amount of the carbon footprint that we collectively have. And forest industries are essentially akin to the fossil fuel sector in terms of their impact on climate and biodiversity. And so this is a space where investors can make both big financial returns as well as incredible social and environmental returns. We need to make circularity less geeky and more sexy, which I think it inherently is. Solutions are sexy, and sex sells. So I think that having it, with influencers, have it, in beautiful clothing that's on catwalks, that all helps make circularity part of the aspirational lifestyle.
I always look to what's happened in other spaces, and like the plastics campaign, where now everybody knows that we need to get off of plastics and how damaging it is. Sometimes it's a moment where it just kind of lands with as a cultural piece. And I think that circularity is moving in that direction. It's got that kind of feeling in the air right now. People are concerned, and they know that the fashion industry has something to do with the problems that we're experiencing, and climate change is real. It's been super hot in Europe, and floods in Pakistan, and fires in California, and people are starting to recognize that there are generators, there's reasons behind these changes, and something needs to be done. And I think we're on the verge of that moment when the responsibility to become a circular economy is going to emerge as a must amongst people who you wouldn't have thought before would be talking about it. So I think we're almost there. It's becoming part of our cultural zeitgeist.
Reasons for hope and positivity. That's exactly what WCTD is about. So thank you so much for your time today.